You're listening to Civic Media. You can tune into any of our live shows on any radio station across the state with the Civic Media app. Find us in your phone's app store and listen anytime, anywhere.
Good morning. Welcome back to Matinaire on Air. My name is Greg Bach, sitting in for Jane Matinaire, who is currently vacating, but she'll be back before you know it. If you want to get in touch with us, if you want to call, our number is 855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC. Leave a comment on the live stream. We are on Facebook, YouTube, and the site we still call Twitter. Basically, we're here for another hour. We got another hour of great programming ahead. But there's also wonderful, wonderful programming happening after we are off the air today, including the Thom Hartmann Show, which is on from from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. And then following that is our very own, our beloved Todd Alba, who will be on from 2 to 4. He's going to be talking to Pat Kreitlow, who was on our show yesterday, and Trigly Olson, who is the senior advisor at the Lincoln Project, and looking for headlines around Wisconsin and the nation that really, that hook into us. So what are we talking about around the nation? What are we talking about as Wisconsinites? And they're going to be discussing those news stories today at 2. And then he is going to be joined at 3:35 by Milwaukee County Executive David Crowley, who announced his Democratic candidacy for the governor's race in 2026. So you don't want to go anywhere. That's coming up during the Todd Alba Show. Got Maggie Dawn at 4 to 6. She's going to be speaking from the Cap Times Ideas Fest with Norm Eisen, who is a panelist, and discussing broad appeal with Kristen Dassler-Alfheim, state senator. They're going to be talking about her time in public service. It's going to be a great time. You really need to get this Civic Media lineup in your life. After Maggie Dawn is Pete Schwabel with Nightlife. It is fantastic. If you want to listen to all of that, go to civicmedia.us go to civicmedia.us, stream it live there, or get the Civic Media app in your life and you can listen to it anytime, anywhere. But that is the rest of the lineup. We'll talk more about that as we go on. But for right now, we have in the studio, well, not in the studio, in our live stream studio, Rick Reed, who is an economics instructor at Fox Valley Technical College. He is our gentleman who is in charge of all knowledge that is economics, because I am econ adjacent. I once looked at a course catalog and it said economics, and I said, maybe, and then I never did. So that's as far as I got with economics. Rick, thank you so much for being here today. We really appreciate your time. How are you doing? Back to school, so you got to be busy, I'm sure.
Oh, it is a hectic time right now.
Yeah.
Absolutely, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Now, you reached out to us, and I'm glad you did, because I told you in the email, the day you reached out, I'm like, we haven't spoken to Rick Reed in a while, and there is stuff going on. And I wanted to start really at the top with what you were discussing, which is these, I would say, war between the Fed chair, Jerome Powell, and Donald Trump. Now, granted, Jerome Powell did not start this. He did not lob the first bomb. He's just a guy doing his job. And we know what the Fed chair is. We know that we know those names, but it's not a very sexy title, nor is it a sexy position. Your job is numbers, and it's doing your best to make sure that the things that are happening in America's economy are reflected in the numbers, so we can understand where we need to move our needle as far as policy, as far as resources. That's his job. And here comes Donald Trump saying, darn it, lower interest rates. So let's start there. Why is it not a good idea for a president to tell a Fed chair to lower interest rates?
Okay. Thank you for having me on. First of all, I wanted to say that the views I express are representative for me, not necessarily for Fox Valley Technical.
Of course. Thank you.
But the main concern among economists is what I'll nickname the H-bomb, and I'll get back to that in a second.
Okay.
I just want to kind of give a little bit of background so that, because a lot of people don't really know what the Fed does, how it got there, why we have them, and what difference it makes. This is a government employee, and gee, can't we just hire and fire them at will? Here's the thing: if you take a look, and when you talk to economists, you'll always have them a common phrase that you'll hear them say is, on the one hand this, and on the other hand that. So I'm going to start off with that. On the one hand, you have fiscal policy being determined by the executive branch in concert with Congress. Okay.
Rick has got a visual aid. Yes. All right, keep going.
little visual aid there for the video
Love it.
viewers there, right? Fiscal policy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the thing is that this is a negotiated process through the budget between Congress and the president, right? And it's meant to be long and drawn out so that we give good thought to how we spend, tax, et cetera, right?
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, we have monetary policy.
Move the
And
hand over, Rick.
monetary
There we go. I want to see your face. There we go. There we go.
Okay.
Perfect.
And monetary policy is the purview of the United States Central Bank, which is called the Federal Reserve. Now, I just threw a term out there, what the central bank is,
Mm-hmm.
and pretty much every country will have a central bank. And it's generally charged with managing the amount of money in circulation, managing things like interest rates, managing bank security, et cetera. Okay. Interbank transfers, and so on. So you've got two different groups of things that can influence the economy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, both of them. Oh, and I should also mention
You need to bring in
on the fiscal that
bring in a student just for a third hand there.
absolutely, absolutely. Whenever you have a question, just raise your hand.
Mm-hmm.
So on the fiscal side, those were elected participants,
Yeah.
right? And that's important to recognize. And it's very different from on the monetary policy where they are appointed. They're appointed by the president, confirmed by Congress. So
Okay.
whether we're talking about fiscal policy or monetary policy, their actions can either be, if you use the analogy of traveling in a car, they can be a gas pedal or a brake.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now think about it. When you're driving along a highway, if you're headed down a hill, is that the time to step on the gas? Maybe not,
No.
right? You might be getting too reckless there, and it might create some hazards down the road. And likewise, as you're headed up the hill into rough terrain, it may not be the best time to step on the brake, right? So it's important to recognize that both fiscal policy and monetary policy have gas and brake pedals. The Federal Reserve, in charge of monetary policy, is charged with what's known as a dual mandate
Mm-hmm.
of price stability and full employment. Now, full employment not only refers to employees, but full employment of the economy, making sure that factories are running, and we're reaching our full potential, right? And that those two things combined lead to steady economic growth. Stable prices is very important. Now, the tricky thing about that dual mandate is you could do either one. You could maximize either one. If you didn't have to worry about the other one, anybody could do it. Literally anybody.
Yeah.
Okay. It's pretty simple. Doing them together and being mindful that what you do with prices could influence unemployment, that's a lot trickier and is a lot more nuanced in terms of what you do. On the fiscal side of things, remember that you've got elected officials and their main objective is doing good for the country, right? And doing good means things like national defense.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
Sure
Good. Thank you for qualifying.
Yeah, making sure that we're all safe. The broader things that we want government to do.
Yeah.
And that involves spending money that they collect through taxes. And by virtue of a budget, between taxing and spending, they've got to be able to balance a budget, right? But the other force in play for fiscal policy is that these people are elected. So in addition to doing good in all these range of things that we do as a government, they have an incentive to also do things that will help them get reelected. So as an example, I can't recall the last time I heard a politician that got elected promote raising taxes on everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Vote for me, I'll raise your taxes.
Yeah.
Right. And it's a not a very popular thing to say.
Yeah. It's hard to take raising your taxes and make it sound palatable, even though raising your taxes will help the investment in the country if used properly. But if you're just joining us on Matt and Aaron Air, we are speaking to Rick Reed, who is an economics instructor at Fox Valley Technical College. He's brought this. Okay, if there's ever a reason to watch the live stream, it's today. Rick has brought visual aids and really fun banter, and we're talking about the role of the Fed chair, the importance of it, and all of those things you're saying to me right now, when it comes to the appointed side, is that this country is better off having, especially a Fed chair who is well-versed, experienced of all the nuance that goes into this entire process. You can't someone in the chief's office that says, well, just lower their interest rates. Just do it. Just do it right now, because then we'll do that and America will be great again. And I don't want to get into the politics with you, Rick, because I know you've made it very clear this is not the opinion of the college. And I'm not trying to employ your opinion on the politics, but what I'm seeing in the news as a news reader is just this, everything you just said, which was informed and dealt with the nuance, and it makes sense. You have a guy in the White House saying, "Yeah, I don't care. Lower the interest rates now because." And I'm in a Atlantic article that came out. It's about putting, I'm going to use your parlance, foot on the gas for the economy, so that the economy grows under the Republicans. And when it doesn't, it can be blamed on the Democrats. And that's not how we should do things in this country. We need to look at strong fiscal policy, how it's implemented, so that we can be growing consistently no matter who is in the White House.
Right, exactly. And the thing is, when Congress established the Federal Reserve, it designed it, and there are a lot of structural features to the Federal Reserve that make it much less likely to be influenced by politics by design.
Yeah.
By design. The term of a Federal Reserve governor is 14 years. And so a president maximum will have 8 years, right? So the idea is to be able to separate it to the extent possible from any political influence. So what happens? Here's the question. What's the fear if suddenly the executive branch, or for that matter, Congress manages day to day. Executive branch is the real concern because it's one person and they can move quickly. What's the concern? Well, that's where we get that's where we get into, again, what I call the H bomb. Do you remember the movie from 1990, Home Alone?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And everybody that ever watched that video, or Home Alone 2, 3, 4.
We don't watch Home Alone 3 in this house. There's no such thing as Home Alone 3. Go on.
Okay. All right. Home Alone 1 or 2 anyway.
Yeah.
So anybody that watched that remembered Macaulay Culkin's reaction, right? If you have monetary policy and fiscal policy influenced by elected officials, you get the Macaulay Culkin Home Alone response to the economy.
Yeah.
And that's the H bomb. And what I mean by an H bomb is you risk, and this is kind of an extreme example, but it is possible that there are examples in the world where it's happened, what's called hyperinflation.
Yeah.
Hyperinflation is where the value of your currency falls by the minute.
We're going to keep that point going when we come back from the other side of grabbing some snacks and some water, because I want to talk about that as well. And really just break down the fact that when it comes to inflation, hyperinflation, stagnation, it's a lot to take in. And people who know nothing about it, including this guy sometimes, speaks way too much on the topic. We are speaking with Rick Reed. He is an economics professor at Fox Valley Technical College. We'll be talking more about the economy. Get in touch, 855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC. You listen to Matt and Air on Air on the Civic Media Radio Network. Stay tuned. Stay close.
You're listening to Civic Media. Stay up to date on the latest news and information for your local community and Wisconsin by signing up for our free email newsletter. Visit civicmedia.us/email to get started.
Good morning. Welcome back to Matt and Air on Air. My name is Greg Bach, sitting in for Jane Matnair, who is currently vacating and will be back before you know it. If you want to get in touch with us, you can call or text. The number is the same. It's 855-752-4842. 855-75-CIVIC. You can always leave a comment on the live stream. Currently, we are on Facebook, YouTube, and the platform we still call Twitter. And I really encourage you to get on the live stream because our guest, Rick Reed, who is an economics instructor from Fox Valley Technical College, didn't just bring his A game as far as the expertise. He brought visual aids. And I would say play on word, pun-based visual aids as well. So you want to stick around for the visual aids. Rick, first of all, again, thank you for being here. And before we went to go grab some snacks and come back, you were talking about hyperinflation. And I feel like that term sits in the same place as stagflation and the fact that, while if you ask the average American, and I use that term not a pejorative, if you ask the average American, where should inflation be? They're going to say 0, because 0 is better than 1 and better than 2. But really, when it comes down to it, is if 2 is about the place you want to be, between 1.5 and 2, because if you get to 0, you get to stagflation. And then talk to me about hyperinflation, so people just understand that it's not just a simple numbers game in that sense of what we would calculate. It's more about, once again, I'm going to keep saying it, the nuance of it all.
Sure, absolutely. And thank you for raising that topic, because the issue around inflation, we always want some inflation, modest inflation. You're right, 2% is the Fed's goal. And part of the reason they want 2% is you don't want to get to 0, because at 0, you're right on the fence line to falling into deflation. Deflation's the real red flashing light thing, because when you get into deflation, that's very painful. It's hard to reverse, and it puts you into a downward spiral very rapidly for a long time. So 2% is just a little bit above that. You're always going to have about 2% or so. We're running about 2.9% right now, which is still not horrible. I mean, 2.9% is livable, but in an ideal world, we want to bring that down just a tad. Stagflation, by the way, just a quick moment. The term got coined back in the 1970s when Tricky Dick Nixon was in charge. The guy that wasn't a crook, and he tried to mess with the Fed to help him get reelected. That's a classic example of one of the dangers. When we talk about hyperinflation, what we're talking about is inflation where you're not talking about 1, 2, 3%. You're talking about 100 or 1,000%. You're talking about getting paid at the end of the day, going to the grocery store and realizing that the prices have already doubled since the day before.
Yeah,
that's hyperinflation. And that's incredibly disruptive and painful. There are a handful of examples throughout history where it's happened, and it's almost always happened has always happened, where you have the elected officials getting control over monetary policy, because they view that as an easy way to print money to pay the bills, when that's really not the way you want to manage it.
And honestly, I'm looking it up right now. I remember his name now. The one example that I think of when it comes to hyperinflation that comes to mind is Robert Mugabe, who ran Zimbabwe and took control of the monetary, and it became the fact that, like, their dollar to buy a dinner would be billions of dollars when it would really equate to like $40, because when the government gets in, when an autocratic or dictator type gets into office, they'll mess with the money. And if you want to look up a modern example of hyperinflation, look at the Zimbabwean currency under Robert Mugabe, because that was it came to the place where they had to actually, the U.S. dollar had to come in as the official dollar to cool things down, because people just couldn't afford to live.
Exactly. It became prohibitive. And the other element that you want to kind of keep in the back of your mind is that when you're talking about inflation, you're talking about the average level of prices and wages rising. Prices always rise sooner and faster than wages.
Yeah. Yes.
So the higher the inflation, the more further behind people that work for a living are going to get.
And we live in this is piece of opinion based looks on history is like right now the trend for this country is that wages far are behind of the cost of the increased costs, whether it's housing, food, services. We're doing much more. We have to do much more with much less. And the argument for, I'm just going to use this real quick too, is the argument for a minimum wage being $15 is so old that people who are like, yeah, let's do it. Now experts are saying, no, it needs to be 20. You missed the boat. It's still $7.25. It needs to be 20. And we're not trying to make people millionaires. We're trying to just people that they can afford their apartments and maybe buy a house one day. So, Rick, I always appreciate you coming in, and I mean, never stop doing the visual aids now. That is mandatory. Mandatory. But I really appreciate you reaching out. I really appreciate you stopping by and giving us your take on this, and really the fact that if in calmer times, the leader of the free world, the president of the United States, wouldn't be trying to put his thumb on the Fed chair to make America look better again. It would just let them do their jobs and make policy to help make the economy better.
Exactly. Central bankers have the motivation to stabilize the economy and assure things like full employment. Elected officials, they might want to do public good, but they also want to get reelected and help their political position. So, two very different motivations, and it influences the way they make decisions.
Rick Reed is an economics instructor at Fox Valley Technical College. He is our guest. He brought the visual aids. Rick, thank you so much. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. We'll talk to you sooner than later, pal.
You as well. Take care.
All right. When we come back, we got some weather and wine with Brittany Merlot. What's going to be the weather update for this weekend? You got to find out. Tune in. You're listening to Matt and Air on Air on the Civic Media Radio Network. Stay tuned. Stay close. Good morning. Welcome back to Matt and Air on Air. My name is Greg Box, sitting in for Jane Matt and Air, who's currently vacating, who's currently out of the office, but will be returning before we know it, so you're stuck with me. But I'm happy you're here. I'm happy you're spending time with us today. We got Sweet Cal B on the boards, the Board Lord, the Calvinator, Calviente, El Calvinton of Perth. Is that good? I like that one. No, Calvin? Okay, Calvin said nothing, so he doesn't like that. I'll never say that again. But you're listening. Yeah?
It's not a bad idea. It just needs some work.
Thank you. Okay, cool. We'll polish it up. We'll polish that pooper up. We are on the Civic Media Radio Network, and we are here with you today. If you want to get in touch with us, call or text. The number is the same, 855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC. Leave a comment on the live stream. We're on Facebook, YouTube, and the platform we still call Twitter. Got a lot more show coming up. We got 1052, got This Shouldn't Be a Thing, Dumpus Eliminatus Edition. Don't go anywhere, especially if you're a Harry Potter fan. And also, we got great programming coming up after us, as well as Todd Alba from 2 to 4, Maggie Dawn from 4 to 6, Pete Alba from on Nightlife from 6 to 8, and then great stuff in the evening as well. So you want to learn more, go to civicmedia.us/shows and find out all the programs we have for you, including Earl Ingram's new podcast, What's Going On. And right now, I'll tell you what's going on. It's time for some weather and wine with Brittany Merlot, Civic Media's award-winning meteorologist, writer, friend. Brittany, how are you today?
Oh, thank you. I'm great now with that intro. Jeez. Thanks, Greg.
I'm just going to follow you around and say, great, like award-winning, and you'll be at the market, be like, I'm just trying to buy bread.
Be like, shh, tell them everything. Oh, it is nice, though. It is nice. How you got the sun out by you right now? Are you the only one hanging on to a little bit of sunshine?
I think so. Yeah, we've been pretty immune to all of the craziness weather-wise down here in southeastern Wisconsin. It's been coolish. We've been in the 70s. It's that 70s cool. It's not hot 70s. It's coolish 70s, right, where you don't turn the air on, but you also don't hesitate to turn the heat on, because at night it will change. And that's what I've been seeing down here, because I am a not trained meteorologist. I'm a guy who sticks his thumb up in the air and goes, the wind's blowing that way. But we've been getting 70s days, and then, lower 60s nights, or early 50s, upper 50s nights as well. So What are you seeing around the state? What are you seeing around southeastern Wisconsin? What's the forecast going to be looking like over the next few days into next week?
Absolutely. So you've got a little bit of a front moving through. So a few spotty showers as those winds switch to off the lake could happen. So you're going to get a little bit of a lake breeze today. And of course, temperatures probably in the mid 70s for you. So overnight fog moving in. It was thick up north. You could barely see this morning. And we are looking at more and more sun as we go through this week. So the crummy, dreary type of weather that we're dealing with now is going to be gone. And we're going to start to warm up. So if you remember last week, this time, we were talking about record cold high temperatures hitting. So just a couple of days ago, and now we're looking at summer weather starting to sneak right back in. I told y'all to hang on. It would be here, and it is. So
I told friends and family, I said, hey, first I said, fall is here, summer's gone. And then we got warmer weather, and they looked at me and said, I apparently wasn't listening to Brittany. And then I said, well, it's going to be warm. It's going to be nice. And then it was upper 50s at night, and they looked at me again. I said, I don't know. I don't win awards. Brittany does. You want the weather? Talk to her. But yeah, it's a very interesting. in certain times, especially in the late summer, in that July, August, it can be very unpredictable, but also very uncomfortable. I feel like where we're at right now with the weather, I can personally operate well because I can take 55 to 72 and not have to worry about opening every window so I can sleep at night.
Right. Well, AC units might start to crank up again as we go into this weekend.
Yeah.
We are going to get warmer. We
Mhm.
are going to see more humidity start to sneak in too. So muggy as soon as Friday. That holds through the whole weekend and even into next week. So we're looking at climbing to the upper 70s, near 80 degrees by Friday for a
Okay.
majority of the state. Low 80s on Saturday. However, there is rain rolling in. So in the morning, you could see some rain early Saturday morning. It'll clear out and be a nice day in the afternoon. Sunday, we're going to the mid 80s across the state. So it's going to get warm and we're going to hang on to those low 80s too as we go into next week. Now, I was looking ahead because our fall colors are already starting to change up here in
Mhm.
Wausau area, far up north. We're starting to see them, certain trees, and we are looking cooler next weekend. So I think with the sun this week, the cooler temperatures behind it, those colors are going to be popping right around the corner. We're also looking at some more warmth still later on too. So while we may cool down into next weekend, I still see 80s for the end of the month. A roller coaster. season.
Yeah, I'm about to ask a dumb question, and you can feel free to answer this as soon as possible, the quickest way possible, and make fun of me while doing it. Once that's all done, though, that mid 80s Sunday, do you see any other heat ear waves, more summer temperatures happening, or do you think then, all right, we're moving into October, it's keep them sweaters out?
Right. So what I'm thinking and seeing right now is this is going to be our last extended 80s,
Mhm.
right? We're going to feel them from Friday all the way through almost Wednesday or Thursday next week. So a whole week of 80s sticking with us. That's not going to happen again, I don't believe. What I see at the end of the month is a day or two spiking to about upper 70s, low 80s, here and there kind of thing as the temperatures slowly trend cooler. Because by the time we end September, our average highs across the state should only be in the upper 60s. So 80s is woo.
Quoted here today on Matt and Aaron Air, Brittany Merlot with the fall like heat. Woo! All right.
Woo!
Get your Ric Flair out because we're going woo today. Now, something else that you spoke to me about is the fact that there is a new, so NOAA put out a tool, you said, a new tool for flood inundation forecasting through the National Weather Service. Tell me more about that, because I talked to you last week about a great piece of equipment that helps protect yourself, helps keep you safe through satellites, but this is something totally different. Tell us some more about this tool from NOAA.
Yeah, so this tool is pretty cool. It's not really for us to
Yeah.
necessarily use. Like, you're not going to be able to go home and play around with this one, but it's going to be filtered down and very, 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 very helpful for all of us. So
Mhm.
it's called Flood Inundation Maps, and it's coming from the Water Prediction Center, the National Water Prediction Service Center as well. And what they're doing is it's pretty cool. So they already have these forecasts for rivers and flooding. We already know that these forecasts are out there, but this is like a spatial, high resolution, street level view where it actually shows water rising in certain places and where that flood is expected to occur. Now, they already have data like this, but this is really cutting edge, advanced, where there's emergency managers across the country saying, man, if we had this a couple of years ago, we wouldn't have set up an emergency crew in this certain area that ended up getting flooded by a river. We would have evacuated more areas that we would have seen. And it's just cool to really see that we're getting better as forecasters in the National Weather Service and NOAA with these tools, with this advancement to help in these situations, because we all know that more rain events and heavier rain events are the new thing. It's happening. Southern Wisconsin especially is already in that trend. Northern Wisconsin's jumping on the train. So with more floods in the future, rivers rising, heavier rain, this is amazing to have. And it was just released last week for Western Wisconsin. So only the Mississippi River Valley has it right now.
Yeah.
But by next year, it's going to cover the entire U.S. 3.6 million river miles will be with this awesome thing where you can just see the water rising, where it's going to go, and what town or what house or what street will be covered with water.
And I'm glad you brought that up because it's something that I've spoken to you about many times. We talked to Dr. Ben Weston from the Milwaukee County Emergency Planning Department, as well as Chief Jim Case from Wauwatosa. He's fire chief of Wauwatosa. And this is, while the cleanup is still happening and there's still assessments being done by NOAA, we need to look at planning, and we cannot look at if. It's going to be about when from now on. We need to make this a part of our lives, understanding that whether it's getting our basements redone, which I understand cost, but getting your basements redone, flood insurance, floodplain updating, these are all the tools we need to get us prepared for the future. And and I understand if you don't, I understand that a direct answer probably isn't available at this moment, but we have seen threats to funding for the National Weather Service and NOAA. And what you always seem to bring are proof positives that these groups are important and vital to keeping us safe and informed. Do you see the cutting of funding or the movement or the closure of any departments influencing certain tools like this? Or are they safe right now? Like right now we're working with what we got, but we got to be on the lookout because the hand from the White House might come down and say, we don't need that stuff. Just go outside, and if it's raining, walk away.
Yes, that is definitely a worry. So it is kind of shocking and awesome to see this new stuff coming out and these tools available. And I know that they're going to use it as much as they can while they have it. I hope that's not a cut in the future, but I mean, they're already low. They're already stressed. There's ripple effects. So I'm hoping that this tool will help the fact that we can visualize it and see that. And I hope there's no cuts. I don't see any in the future in this specific area. But you never, ever know. It's
important to stay vigilant on this, everybody, because things like this now will have they always did, but now, especially if you live in southeastern Wisconsin, we have to be on the lookout. And I hate to say, the double C word, but it's the truth. Climate change is also a factor in this. So we have to be vigilant on what we know and how we contribute and how we can stay prepared. Speaking of prepared, Brittany, what are you prepared to do this weekend? What are you up to? What is, I know you're not a snowbird, you're not old, but you love the snow, but you're not there yet. But you love this cooler weather. What are you planning to do in this last maybe hot weekend of 2025?
I'm going to live up the summer vibe. I'm probably going to be out on the lakes, kayaking, stand-up paddleboarding, anything I can do to soak up the last little bit of heat.
Yeah.
Because yes, my snow season is coming soon.
And you are excited for that? I mean, are you seeing in the last few moments we have together here today, do you see good snow in the future?
I do, actually, because we are in a La Nina watch. I think that pattern is going to flip. I think we're going to get some systems. We're going to get some cold spells, and we're going to see a little bit more, which is good news for the Northwoods, right? 2 years ago, no trails open for snowmobiling or skiing or anything. Last year was decent, not the best. So we're ready for a better one.
Excellent. Well, I'm hoping for all the snow for where you live, because I just am over shoveling and snowblowing. Yeah, I'll just ship it all to you via the mail. It'll come back to you as water, so you just have to put it in the freezer. But before you know it, it'll be snow, and you'll be so happy. Speaking of happy, Brittany, I always love having you on the show. Love doing Weather and Wine with you. Love talking about these issues, talking about these updates, and I appreciate your time and expertise. If you want to know more about Brittany and her award-winning journalism, go to civicmedia.us/news. You can find everything she's working on. Brittany, have yourself a lovely weekend. I know you're going to be out of town, having some time off. Enjoy yourself. You deserve it. I'll talk to you next week.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, when we return, this shouldn't be a thing. Dumpus Eliminatus edition. Get your wands ready, because when we return, we're talking Tisbat. You're listening to Matt and Air on Air on the Civic Media Radio Network. Stay tuned. Stay close.
You're listening to Civic Media. Find the latest news, information, and archives of all your favorite shows on the Civic Media website, civicmedia.us.
Good morning, and welcome back to Matt and Air on Air. My name is Greg Bach, sitting in for Jane Mattanair, who is currently vacating and will be back before you know it. But you got me, you got Sweet Cal B. We're going to keep polishing up some new nicknames for him. But if you want to get in touch with us, you can always call or text. The number is the same, 855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC. And you can leave a comment on the live stream that is on Facebook, YouTube, and what we still call Twitter. Still ahead. We have lots of programming left in the day, including Todd Alba from 2 to 4. Actually, following us after the news break is Thom Hartmann from 11 to 2, and then Todd Alba from 2 to 4, Maggie Dawn from 4 to 6, Nightlight with Pete Schwab from 6 to 8, and then even when that's done, we still have great programming in the evening. We got the Rick Smith Show. We have Native Roots Radio. So you don't want to miss anything, and you can do that. And I want to talk about this really quick because we got a text from someone listening on WISS, and they were talking about the fact that they wanted to listen to more of the talk stuff, not so much the music. And that's fine. Do what you want. Civic Media has great talk programs, have great music programs as well. If you want to listen to talk, but you can't do it through your terrestrial radio, get the Civic Media app. Download it right now on your device. It's absolutely free. That way you can pick a station and listen to whatever you want, where, and I should say qualified, not whatever, because you can't listen to Brewers or Packers on the app, but you can listen to me right now if you so choose. If you listen in a place where on your terrestrial radio, you're getting a different show and you're like, hey, I really want to listen to Greg Bach talk. I don't know why, but okay. Get the Civic Media app, choose WAUK. That's our station that we come out of right now. And you can listen to us, and then you can listen to Thom Hartmann, and then Maggie Dawn, Todd Alba. It's good to go. But that Civic Media app will help you choose the programming you like to hear through the stations you want to listen to. And it's absolutely free. Put that on your device, and then you can take part in our text to win contests that are happening, including this week, Free Ticket Friday, where we're going to be giving away a 4-pack of club level Brewers tickets. And you have to have the Civic Media app to participate. I'll tell you more about that tomorrow, but that free word is coming on Friday, and you're going to text it in, and then we'll get you entered. Got a lot of chances. And then, from what I understand, coming down the pike, another statewide text-to-win contest as well. So we'll have more information as we hear. I'll let you know. But just get that Civic Media app in your life, and then it takes care of so much. So much. Really quick on the live stream, we were talking to Brittany Merlot about the weather, and PJ says, good. I can get some outside house painting done. Exactly. I think I might use this weekend, if it's nicer, to do some much needed yard work. So yeah, we're going to use those last few warm, coolish days before winter comes to get some stuff done. But yeah, thank you to Brittany Merlot. It is 10:53 and a half. I talk too much, Calvin. It's time for another edition of This Shouldn't Be a Thing. If you ever have a thing you think should not be, send it to Calvin, Jane, and me. Ha ha ha. Jane says at civicmedia.us, JANESAYS at civicmedia.us. If you have a This Shouldn't Be a Thing suggestion, a guest suggestion, subject suggestion, send it to us via the email Jane says at civicmedia.us. Today's This Shouldn't Be a Thing comes way of Lad Bible, which I don't really know much about that, but okay. Lad Bible is a website. I've seen some of their videos. Calvin found this for us. Brenna Cooper has the byline. Folks, get ready. It's going to get a little dirty. Harry Potter fans are leaving feces at popular filming locations, and locals have had enough. It's been 14 years since Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2 hit cinemas, but fans of the Wizarding World don't appear to be letting go of Hogwarts anytime soon. So apparently what is happening, they are visiting various places around the countryside where they filmed the movie, including, it's called the Glenfinnan Viaduct in Scotland, where they took the train to or from Hogwarts. It's a very, very famous area. People are visiting it like they do for Star Wars, like they do for other movies, taking pictures. The problem is it sees about 500,000 tourists a year, and it's not a big area, and it's also not built for sightseeing in the sense. So the problem is that car parks are becoming overflowing. People are just parking their cars on the grass as large influx of individuals wanting to watch the steam train pass. It's causing tensions with the locals. And it's not just that, but people are actually, they're emptying, if they're, if they have an RV of some sort. The car parks aren't the only things that are busy. One resident revealed that visitors have been leaving behind their waste disposal from vehicles in their chemical toilets in the drains in front of the houses. And these drains are meant for fresh water. These are freshwater drains, and people are putting their business in there. And the folks are very, very upset about this. Look, you can love Harry Potter. We can talk more about that another time. I have thoughts on that. But if you're going to visit these areas, respect the land, respect the people. There are places to dispose of this stuff. You don't have to do it in someone's front lawn or in their fresh water drain. That's disgusting. That's harmful. Go to a petrol station. Yeah, that's right. I said petrol because this is a story that takes place in the UK. But this shouldn't be a thing. Be respectful. Wait for a bathroom at a Burger King or something. But don't do this. It just makes people really, really not want you in their neighborhood. When a neighborhood becomes a tourist attraction, you respect it. You thank them for allowing you to be a part of it. And you don't dump your poopies in their drain. That's all I'm going to say about that on this edition of This Shouldn't Be a Thing. I shouldn't have to say it, Calvin. I shouldn't have to, but I do. Thank you so much, Calvin. Thank you so much, our traffic department. Thank you, engineering, for you make everything work behind the scenes and make people listen to us. For the people who are listening, the people who are watching, commenting, texting, getting in touch with us, being a part of this show, sharing your time. Thank you. Without you, there is no us. As I said before, after the news, we got Tom Hartman from 11 to 2, Todd Alba from 2 to 4, Maggie Dawn from 4 to 6, and Pete Schwaba with Nightlight from 6 to 8. Don't go anywhere. Stick around. We got a great day ahead of you. And we're going to be talking about some great things with great people. Be a part of it. You're listening to Matt and Air on Air on the Civic Media Radio Network. You are awesome. Let no one tell you differently. Goodbye.
The national news cycle never stops, but it can be hard to find news about your local community. Civic Media is dedicated to providing quality local and state news coverage across Wisconsin. With the Civic Media app, you can get notifications about local stories that matter to you and your community. Find the free Civic Media app in your phone's app store and choose notifications from the menu to tell us what kind of news you want to hear about.